Hello students, welcome to the lecture on designing distribution network and application to e-business, and after this lecture we will be able to learn the following objectives. Explain the role of distribution in supply chain, discuss the factors influencing distribution network design, understand strategic network planning, define break-even model, describe network design supply chain. Let's start with the introduction. Distribution refers to the steps taken to move and store a product from the supplier stage to a customer stage in the supply chain. Distribution is a key driver of the overall profitability of a firm because it directly impacts both the supply chain cost and the customer experience. Good distribution can be used to achieve a variety of supply chain objectives ranging from low cost to high responsiveness. As a result, companies in the same industry often select very different distribution network.
So what happens after all these natural resources are turned into products? Well, it moves here for distribution. Now, distribution means selling all the toxic contaminated junk as quickly as possible. The goal here is to keep the prices down, keep the people buying, and keep the inventory moving. How do they keep the prices down? Well, they don't pay the store workers very much, and they skimp on health insurance every time they can. It's all about externalizing the costs. What that means is that the real costs of making stuff aren't captured in the price. In other words, we aren't paying for the stuff we buy. I was thinking about this the other day. I was walking to work and I wanted to listen to the news, so I popped into a Radio Shack to buy a radio. I found this cute little green radio for $4.99. I was standing there in line to buy this thing, and I was thinking, how could $4.99 possibly capture the cost of making this radio and getting it into my hands? The metal was probably mined in South Africa. The petroleum was probably drilled in Iraq. The plastics were probably produced in China, and maybe the whole thing was assembled by some 15-year-old in a maquiladora in Mexico. $4.99 wouldn't even pay the rent for the shelf space it occupied until I came along, let alone part of the staff guy's salary who helped me pick it out, or the multiple ocean cruises and truck rides pieces of this radio went on. That's how I realized I didn't pay for the radio. So who did pay? Well, these people paid with the loss of their natural resource space. These people paid with the loss of their clean air, with increasing asthma and cancer rates. Kids in the Congo paid with their future. 30% of the kids in the Congo now have dropped out of school to mine coltan, a metal we need for our cheap and disposable electronics. These people even paid by having to cover their own health insurance. All along this system, people pitched in so I could get this radio for $4.99. And none of these contributions are recorded in any accounts book. That's what I mean by the company owners externalize the true costs of production.
Let us now discuss the role of distribution in supply chain. In the ever-changing coatings industry, distributors play an important role in the supply chain. From just-in-time procurement strategies to risk management, distributors can bring real value to customers. In today's economic environment, distributors are being relied on heavily as our customers are more likely to order smaller volumes of products on a more frequent basis. Established partnerships with distributors provide for continuity and trust of supply.
Distribution is a movement of products and services from its source to the end user. In our today's topic, we are not going to take services. We'll just focus on products for the simplicity, and I will try to explain how the distribution is done, or what is distribution. You know that the products are produced in the factories and the finished goods are taken to the warehouses in the cities. Then they are supplied to various retail shops and consumers can go and buy from there. Once the consumer buys that product, he pays back to a retailer and the money goes back to factory. So once again, what is distribution? Distribution is a movement of products and services from its source to the end user. Now let's understand this. When the products are produced in the factory, these products are taken to end user through some channels or paths. And there are various paths to reach to a consumer. Now this is called distribution system. So what is distribution system? It is a system to carry goods from producer or manufacturer to an end user by using various paths or channels. Now in the next slide, I will show you what are these channels. There are many channels to reach the consumer. Agents, distributors, dealers, wholesalers, they buy products from factories and they supply to retail shops, mini markets, showrooms, supermarkets, etc. so that consumer can go and buy products. The ultimate aim is whatever the factory produces must be available for consumer to buy. So to make the product available, a distribution system is formed, and the distribution system carries the product and make it available for a consumer. Distribution channels are defined differently for different products. Now you know, in our daily life we use so many products, so many brands. We buy food products, beverages, household products, books and stationery, medicines, automobiles. So these are the different types of products. So as per the product type and category, distribution channels are decided.
Shipments may go directly from the factory or from a DC to the customer with a single order. This simplest form of distribution is only efficient for large orders using up the vehicle. Smaller orders can be shipped jointly in tours starting from the factory or DC and calling at several customers. A stronger bundling of small shipments is achieved by a joint transport from the DC to a TP and delivery in short distance tours from there. Challenges: industry consolidation on both the customer and supplier side greatly affects the long-term viability of distribution companies. As the North American coatings industry has consolidated over the past decade, there are far fewer coatings manufacturers for distributors to supply. From a distributor's perspective, this problem is compounded by the fact that the top tier coating companies are oftentimes handled as house accounts for our manufacturers. This consolidation is expected to continue as small and mid-sized coatings manufacturers need to realize economies of scale to compete. A customer perspective. Customers may sometimes think, why do I need to buy from a middleman when I can just go direct at a lower cost? There are several answers to this question, but the most straightforward is that either the buyer or seller in a direct relationship will have to perform the function of the distributor. This adds cost to the equation, as can be seen in several key areas. One of the most prevalent advantages that distributors can offer is in the area of product bundling. Customers have the ability to purchase several items from one supplier, greatly reducing administrative and freight costs. Most successful distributors offer a complementary portfolio of products that can be combined in less than truckload quantities. If a customer requires resin, additives, pigment and containers, they can combine these on one order from one supplier and pick them up on the day they are needed for a production batch. A supplier perspective. In addition to the benefits already highlighted, distributors offer unique advantages to suppliers. Effective sales channel management will lead to greater profitability, increased market share, and higher customer satisfaction. Distributors can be viewed as an extension of a supplier's sales force in markets where it is not economically viable to establish a permanent facility or direct staff. This outsourcing of the sales function results in lower costs and allows the manufacturer to concentrate on R&D and manufacturing disciplines. With rising healthcare costs, travel expenses and language barriers, etc., some manufacturers simply would not be able to access the North American market without local distribution partners. Distributors are often the first call when chemists are working to develop new formulations. Our wide breadth of knowledge based on experience supplying multiple components to the formulation is an asset for our partners. Distributors are able to cross-fertilize from one product group to another and one industry to the next. There are significant financial advantages to working with a distributor. Notwithstanding the tax benefit of not establishing a local presence, distributors carry the receivables. Manufacturers are set up to optimize production capacity and do not want to sell a couple of bags or single pallets to 100 different customers who speak different languages, want custom labeling, and need immediate delivery. Furthermore, when it is time to get paid, contacting one distributor is much more cost-effective than trying to collect from multiple customers. Let's discuss the factors influencing distribution network. At the higher level, performance of a distribution network should be evaluated along two dimensions: customer needs that are met, cost of meeting customer needs. The customer needs that are met influence the company's revenues, which along with cost decide the profitability of the delivery network. While customer service consists of many components, we will focus on those measures that are influenced by the structure of the distribution network. These include response time, product variety, product availability, customer experience, order visibility, return ability. Changing the distribution network design affects the following supply chain costs: inventories, transportation, facilities and handling, information. Design options for a distribution network. We will discuss distribution network choices in the context of distribution from the manufacturer to the end consumer. When considering distribution between any other pair of stages, such as supplier to manufacturer, many of the same options still apply. There are two key decisions when designing a distribution network. Will product be delivered to the customer location or picked up from a preordained site? Will product flow through an intermediary or intermediate location? Based on the choices for the two decisions, there are 6 distinct distribution network designs that are classified as follows: manufacturer storage with direct shipping, manufacturer storage with direct shipping and in-transit merge, distributor storage with package carrier delivery, distributor storage with last mile delivery, manufacturer distributor storage with customer pickup, retail storage with customer pickup. Now moving on to the next topic, we will discuss the factors influencing distribution network design. In general, supply chain management involves decisions concerning locations, where to produce, mix, what is to be produced, and volumes. Additional decisions concern IT, example, how to share information among parties in the process, and finally, facilities location, where to locate plants and distribution centers. The location decisions are often the most critical and most difficult within the set of decisions required by an efficient supply chain. The decision questions investigated are: how many different levels should be studied? How many main hubs should be planned? How many DCs, distribution centers, should be planned? Where should they be located? Which group of customers should be served by each DC? Which transportation methods should be used? The main factors influencing distribution network design can be divided into the following two main groups. The first one concerns the costs incurred, and the second one deals with the service level offered to the customer. Costs affected by the network structure are inventories, transportation, facilities and handling, information. Elements of the customer service influenced by the network structure are response time, product variety, product availability, customer experience, order visibility, return ability. Let's now focus on the strategic planning and design of the supply chain. During the strategic planning process, an organization attempts to design a supply chain which will enable this organization to maximize its economic performance over an extended period of time. Together with product research and development and marketing, the supply chain is one of the essential tools for a company to achieve their strategic business goals and practices. During the strategic planning process, companies identify their key products, customer markets for these products, core manufacturing processes, and suppliers of raw and intermediate materials. Clearly, the decisions made during the strategic network planning have major impact on the long-term profitability and competitive position of corporation. But such far-reaching decisions typically have to be made based on data generated by very aggregate forecasts and economic trends. Demand for consumer goods in the developing nations of South America depends on the population data for that region, the global and local economic condition, and the profitability of serving that demand depends on the exchange rates during the planning period. As a consequence, corporations have become very much interested not only in the economic efficiency of their supply chain for the projected conditions, but also in the robustness and flexibility of their supply chain to adapt to changing and unanticipated conditions. Solution algorithms for designing systems when the data is not known with certainty belongs to the class of stochastic optimization algorithms and simulation. Planning models and decision of the strategic network design have both interrelated spatial and temporal characteristics. The strategic planning process is complicated by the fact that organizations execute strategic planning infrequently. A typical frequency may be during the creation of the next 5-year corporate strategic plan. As a consequence, the people that performed the previous strategic planning have been promoted or left for other organizations. This implies that the new design team may have very little experience in model building and model solving.
Do you have a long-term strategic network plan for the property side of your business? Are you proactive or reactive? We work with you at the senior management level to make the tough decisions on how your network should look in 5 to 10 years' time. A strategic network planning project involves assessing your current network to understand the good sites from the poor sites, building some form of sales prediction tools for the future, making long-term decisions on your existing stores, looking across all markets for future Greenfield locations and taking into account future population growth, looking at specific demographics and traffic that is favorable to your sites. The output is a report, including individual maps to describe each individual area recommended. With this in hand, hopefully all involved in network planning decisions will be swimming in the same direction.
In most cases, the business requires a financial investment before the business begins its operations. Even after the operations begin, It often takes time and many sales before the business achieves profitability. The point where the business is no longer operating with a loss but has yet to earn a profit is the business's break-even point. Break-even point. The break-even point is the point where the business's sales have generated enough income to cover all of its fixed costs and expenses. At that point, all of the business's incoming revenue is profit as long as the expenses and costs are not increased and the sales amounts are not reduced.
Trevor wants a new bike, so Big Sister Taylor helps him look for work to pay for it. After a few months of raking and mowing, saving and investing, Trevor can buy a new bike and get tools to start his own business and hire his friends to help. Now Trevor is earning profits because his revenue from customers is more than his expenses. Tyler thinks money grows on trees. It doesn't. Good thing Trevor and Sis are there to help Tyler when times are...
Formula. The break-even point is calculated by dividing the business's fixed expenses by its margin. The margin is determined by subtracting the business's total variable expenses from its total net sales amount. The margin reflects the percentage of revenue that remains after the business pays all of its expenses. It is the margin that represents the total profit after expenses. Decisions. The break-even point identifies the total amount of sales the business needs before profit can be earned. When analyzed closely, the break-even analysis also helps the business to identify excessive fixed costs. Since the break-even point is directly related to the fixed costs, reducing and controlling these costs aids the business in achieving a lower break-even point for quicker profitability. Fixed costs. Unlike the business's variable costs, the fixed costs are not directly related to the creation of the business's products and services. Fixed costs are the costs incurred as a result of operating the business, such as overhead expenses, depreciation, rent, insurance, and taxes. There are a wide array of decisions and changes the business can implement to reduce and control fixed costs. Some decisions may include shopping around for competitive insurance rates, implementing a paperless work environment, paying bills on time to reduce interest rates, and implementing a quality control or quality assurance program to improve accuracy and efficiency. Let us move further and discuss the network design supply chain. Supply chain network design decisions include the assignment of the role of facility, location of processing, manufacturing, storage, and transportation related facilities, and the allocation of capacity and market at each facility. Supply chain network design decisions are grouped into role facilities, facility location, the allocation of capacity, market allocation, and supply. Network design decisions have a significant impact on performance because this decision determines the composition of the supply chain, and the accompanying set of constraints in the supply chain triggers may also be used to reduce supply chain costs or to improve response. The whole of this network design decisions affect each other and must be considered. Decisions regarding the role of the facility are important because it determines the decisions of supply chain flexibility in changes to bring offers. Facility location decisions have long-term impact on supply chain performance because it is expensive to stop the facility or move to a different location. Decision of right location can help the supply chain in order to better respond to low cost. Resource allocation and market demand on facilities also have a significant impact on supply chain performance for impact on total production, inventory, and transportation costs that occurred in the supply chain to customer demand satisfaction. This decision should be considered so that allocation can be changed as market conditions or changes in plant capacity. Here are a variety of factors that influence decisions in supply chain network design. Strategic factor. A company's competitive strategy has a significant impact on the decision in the supply chain network design. The company focuses on cost leadership will try to find or create the lowest cost for these facilities manufacturing. Companies that focus on response rate tends to place facilities that are closed in the market and may choose a high cost location if the option meets the company to react quickly to market changes as needed. Global supply chain network to support the company's strategic goals with the role of different facilities in different places. Technological factors. Characteristics found in production technology have a significant impact on network design decisions. If the production technology shows significant economies of scale, fewer high-capacity locations would be more effective. By contrast, the facility remains lower cost. Many local facilities are prepared because it will help lower transportation costs. Flexibility in production technology has an impact pad consolidation rate that can be achieved by the network. Macroeconomic factors. These factors include the taxes, customs, foreign exchange rate, and other economic factors that do not exist within the company. This factor has a significant impact on the success or failure of the supply chain network. Political factors. Political stability in a country is of great consideration because it has a significant impact on the role in the choice of location. Companies prefer to place the facility on the location or state that has the stability that provides clarity in terms of the rules of trading and ownership. Factors. Infrastructure. The presence of good infrastructure is an important prerequisite in allocating facilities in certain areas. Poor infrastructure will raise business costs. Competitive factors. Companies should consider the strategy, size, and location of competitors when designing their supply chain networks. Making important decisions when setting the facility of the company is the company that cannot be accessed by competitors or otherwise away from competitors. Customer response, time and local presence. The company has a target customer to respond in quick time to put the facilities are close to customers. If the company sends the product to the customer, it means that the transport be slightly built and keep improving response time is short. This option may lead to elevated or increasing transportation costs. Further, many situations that require such facilities to the customers. Logistics costs and facilities. Logistics and facilities costs that occur in the supply chain are subject to change as the number of facilities, location, and capacity allocation. Companies should consider supplies, transportation, and facility costs as the company's supply chain network design. The increasing cost of supplies and facilities, the greater the number of facilities used in the supply chain. The lower the transportation cost, the greater the number of facilities. If the number of facilities increased to a point where the way economics of scale is lost, then the transportation cost increases. Total is the entire inventory logistics, transportation, and facility costs. Framework in network design decisions. Success in supply chain network design will maximize the company's profits when the demand is satisfied, the needs of customers, and has the power response. Network design decisions are made in 4 stages. Establish design or supply chain strategy. The purpose of this phase is to establish a major supply chain design. This includes also specify the stages in the supply chain and every supply chain function to be used. Establish a regional facility arrangement. The purpose of this phase is to identify areas where it will be placed, rules and regulations, and capacity. Selecting the desired set of potential sites. The goal of phase 3 is to select the desired set of potential sites in each region in which the facility will be placed. The choice of location. The purpose of this phase is to choose the right location and the location of the capacity for each facility. Model of facility. Location and capacity allocation. The success of facility managers in determining and allocating capacity should be optimized on all profitability from the current supply chain network to enhance the proper response to the customer. Managers must consider many design trade-offs for the network. Managers use a network design model in two different circumstances, namely, the model is used to determine the location where the facility will be established and the existing capacity at each facility. Managers have to make decisions based on the future and the capacity in which the location cannot be changed. The model is used to determine the direct request on availability of facilities and identify the products will be passed along. Managers should consider its decision on the basis of such a request prices, exchange rate changes, and changes in customs. Now, in the end, let us summarize what we have learnt in this lecture. A typical distribution system of a consumer goods manufacturer comprises the flow of many products from several factories to a large number of customers. Distributors are often the first call when chemists are working to develop new formulations. Response time is the time between when a customer places an order and receives delivery. Planning models and decisions of the strategic network design have both interrelated spatial and temporal characteristics. The break-even point is the point where the business's sales have generated enough income to cover all of its fixed costs and expenses.